So I got the bench cleared up here. I got the engine all laid out. I've been going around it, cleaning it, and checking it over. Little things. Again, this was a part when I got it. This case was split. The transmission was in a bag. I just went through it, you know, to try to make sure everything was there. And I know I'm missing stuff, but, you know, we'll work around it as best we can. I still trying to figure out why they had the case split. I know the piston was gone, but the only thing I can think is they bent the end of the shift shaft, and when you bend it, you got to cut them to get them out. You can see that was clearly cut. You can see the marks from the saw. But this will just slide out. You don't need to split the case to do it. So I kind of suspected something was up when I seen that, but you know, it is what it is. When I had a little closer look, I see why they split the case. Okay, the area of the drain plug, and this is actually kind of common to hit that, you know, when you're trail riding and whatnot. They have a couple of cracks in here, and it looks like they aluminum welded it and threw in some JB weld. It looks not that good, but it's actually dry. There's no leaks. I poured some oil in there just to see if it was leaking, and it wasn't. If it does, you know, I'll fix it right. And a little bit of aluminum braze welding. I'm not opposed to JB weld. This isn't going to go racing motocross. It's for driving around on the farm. There's my new shift shaft. The spring and the Teflon spacer there come off of the old one, and you know, you don't even need tools to put that on. With the new gear end on it, nice and good. That was 60 bucks. A little pricey, but you know, you got to have it. You can't shift it without. Got that from Parts Source, Part Select, something. And I picked up a couple of clips. As I was going through, I noticed that one of them had the end broken off, and the other was a little stretched out, so they're $1 a piece. Stupid not to put them in. Power valve lever has been welded, so someone at some point broke it and welded her back together. It looks solid enough. Kind of an ugly job, but yeah, we'll see. I'm not too concerned about a power valve. As I said, transmission was apart. You know, people get all irate that these are complicated and they zip tie them, and it's really not that complicated. You got your input side, your output side, and you know, a couple of shift arms and a sliding gear on here, 2 sliding gears over there, held together with clips. You can see here that clip that I'm talking about. I guess it broke, and you can see it scored pretty good into the shaft. You know, it's the wet side. It doesn't matter. It's not going to leak through a seal or anything like that. If it was on this side, I'd be a little more concerned, because that's where it seals through the case, and you don't want that leaking out into the dry sprocket area. But yeah, transmission's not that complicated. It's really simple when you think about it. It's only got 2 slidings and a couple of gears. The shift drum. Now you can see they've had it out. The retainers for the bearing are not in. They're in there. Hopefully they're here in the bag somewhere. And the input shaft bearing on it was kind of stiff. Had a lot of noise in it, so I went ahead and replaced that. Fortunately, I had one sitting here, so that one's a lot better. It rolls nice and smooth with your finger. The other one, it rolled, but you could feel that there was something going on. I suspect that clip, when it went, maybe went into the bearing and messed up one of the balls. No biggie. Yeah, everything else is there that I could tell. All the bearings and seals are in decent shape. I do have a few spare seals. Cylinder's good. Clutch. The drum. You can see they broke one of them. The other 4 are good. That one's not so good. I have had good luck with JB Weld in the past. JB welded one up on an 85 Ninja, my brother bike. and it's still in there. JB welded and it still works. So we'll try it. And again, it's not going to be racing. It's just going to be me putting around on the farm. So new piston came. There's my power valve. I think going through it, I have just about everything, but one thing I did notice was missing, and it kind of pissed me off when I found out, was the cover for, where am I looking at? The cover for the power valve on the side of the cylinder, right here. I don't have the cover as near as I can tell, and that's annoying. That means I got to go to the scrap yard and hope I can find one. It's maybe eBay, but I don't want to pay what they're asking for sure. You know, again, that's what happens when you buy things in bins and bags and what have you. We'll work around it and get her done. Get her done as the best we can. Alright, we're going to start some assembly here. I think I'm going to get the transmission and the case put back together today, and that'll probably be it. Okay, step one, putting the retainers back in. That's what they look like. There's one on either side. Got one in already. I'm going to put the other one in. They just hold the roller bearing there in, because that will come out pretty easy. You can. I've had it out 3 or 4 times here already. Alright, both retainers are in. Everything should roll nice and easy. Now the position of this doesn't really matter from here, because you know, you got a lot of stuff to put in. You got shift forks and whatnot. Next thing we'll put in, now that retainer's in good and tight. I had to look at the bearings, make sure everything's good. The transmission may as well go in next, and I just mocked it up here. I'm going to show you a couple of things for the shifters. This can get confusing. This pin don't matter, left, right, it's all the same. The front shifter fork, alright, it's centered. You can see the fork part is centered on the shaft, on the part here. The main one, alright, they're offset. And how you can tell which one's which, now of course you got the guides that go into the shift drum here. Is inside there's an L and an R. Can't really see it here. Okay. L and R. So as you're sitting on the bike, front of the engine, left, right. Super simple. So the pin on this one has a smaller end. Alright, and that's what goes into the case. I'll show you here in a minute. Alright, so we're going to put the transmission in here. One thing you want to do before you start sliding that in, if you look at your shift forks that we discussed earlier, okay, well, this is the rear one, the one that says R, so the right side, pull that off and put it on your transmission. You're going to want to juggle that as you're putting it in, and the reason is, once you get the transmission gears in, you can't get this in here unless you pull the clutch or the shifter drum out again. You don't want to have to do that, okay? So it's easier to just put it on, and you can wiggle it down as you put the transmission in. Again, as you can imagine, this is going to be a two-hand thing, so it's a little tricky. I got to put the camera down. Alright, tranny's in. Not super painful. Again, just a little bit of a juggling act. 2 hands required. Input shaft, output shaft at the same time, and you just gotta juggle this so it fits into this slot. And as you can see, what I was telling you, there's no room to put that in there if you put it in after, unless you take out the shifter drum. Alright, now don't worry about the pin lining up. It's not important just yet. We have room to work. Okay, you can see there's the spot that it will eventually go into. Position of the drum, again, also not important at this point, but make sure your transmission input and output shafts are in all the way, because if you lean the case over, this input shaft sticks out And if you lean the case back on the ground flat, it's going to push this out toward you about 3/4 of an inch, and you're going to be fumbling around trying to figure out why nothing lines up. So you just got to constantly check to make sure that they're in as far as they'll go. Don't worry if they're not rolling and you know, there's collision happening here at this point. That's fine. That's because those sliders are not all in the right position. That's going to be controlled when we've got all our shifter forks in and aligned with the drum. Alright, so for that, again, this is almost a two-handed thing. Hard to do with a camera. I really should get a stand or something. That gear slides, right? That gear slides. What you got to do is slide it upwards, put that on, and then just, it won't fall off once it's inside the case here. Alright, you can actually leave it like that for now. What you're going to have to do is rotate the drum and slide the gear until that pin goes into the slot somewhere. So it doesn't matter where at this point. And once you get it in, slide the pin in. The pin will line up with that whole way down there. Alright, so I'm going to put the camera down here and get that done and show you. Alright, so there it is in. You can see it doesn't go up and down because it's engaged in here. Now if you rotate, you'll see how the gears work. And then back to the high slot. Right? Well, sorry, medium and then high. Alright, so that one's in and functioning just fine. Again, no matter what you do at this point, you're still going to get gear collision because the other two sliders on the back shaft, the output side, are not set up yet. So we have to get all that in now. Alright, so same thing here. That one will line up with the bottom somewheres. Okay, so all I did there was I put my finger in behind to put a little tension and just turn the drum until it clicked in. Alright, you can see it's lined up quite nicely right now. So we can work on the other one. Okay, the top one, which goes, again, left and right. That's my left. The pin obviously has to line up, so it only goes one way. Alright, so you can see it goes in there like that, and that goes into the top slot. Now this one, unlike the other two, will fall out because there's no case to hold it. Alright, so you have to hold it with one hand, and then you slide that pin in. Now you can see this pin has, unlike the front pin, is longer, and it has a narrower portion. Okay, the narrower portion goes in. So, like this. Alright, so it's just a matter at this point of lining up that pin with the shifter drum. The bottom one's already lined up unless it's fallen out, which is just a matter of poking it back in. Getting everything lined up and sliding this in. Again with this, alright, it's got to be flat. If it's bent, you're going to have all world of trouble getting this thing to shift. And it shouldn't have any burrs or marks on it. Smooth as glass. Now you can see there's visual scratches and stuff. Well, it's a used machine, so that's going to happen. But none of them you can feel. They're not interfering with the operation in any way. Alright, so I'm going to put that in here because it's a two-handed deal. Alright. Both shift systems are in. Transmission is now on, and I put the gear back on just to show you. Alright, at this point, you should be able to rotate, and I'm just turning the input shaft, so that's where the clutch would sit, the clutch basket. Alright, and as you can see, nice and smooth, no gear clashing, full rotations. Alright, you can sit here and cycle the gears and you can see everything's moving, but this one's going to fall off because there's the case would normally hold that in place, right? Now you can see everything's moving like it's supposed to. Alright, so obviously hard to do with my fingertips here because things want to fall apart, but you can see it's free operation, no gear clashing. If you had gear clashing at this point, you're going to have to stop and have a look and see what's wrong because something is not right. And that's essentially putting the transmission together. Alright. So there's what you're looking at on the other side. That's the rear shifter arm that comes through. Alright. That is your output shaft side. That's your input shaft side. Alright, transmission's in. I'm just about ready to put the case back in. One last thing has to go on here, and you can actually see the wear marks. Alright, there's the washer. Okay, so it's important that you look at stuff like that, because I almost forgot it, and I've done these before, so I shouldn't have. Left side case, it's got the gasket maker there. Now they recommend the Yama gasket stuff, but I just use a little ultra black. It's all pretty much the same. Liberal coat, nothing too thick, but nothing too thin either. Make sure you got all the old material off. You don't want it going into your engine. And again, take a good look around and wipe things. Just get any material out. And I'll throw this sucker together.